Hi guys, so it's Constance, obviously because it's on my channel, but I don't know how to start a vlog, so hi, it's Constance. I've recently been going through a lot of my journals from Red Crow. If you guys remember, we were going to go through them and try to catalog girls from Red Crow so that we could, get in contact with them. But I also started going through them a little bit in preparation for these vlogs. Let me tell you, they're cringe because I was 13 when I went to Red Crow, so especially the first ones, which are the ones I started with, are so cringy. Everybody should know that 13 is the age where it's like peak awkwardness. So there's just a whole lot of I heart insert whatever I was even remotely interested in at the time written all over the margins of the page. I feel like that should be relatable for everybody. If it's not, then I guess I just embarrassed myself, so go ahead and forget that information. But I've been going through the journals from Red Crow, and it made me start to think about how you guys don't really know much about Red Crow. I talked about it a little bit in one of the episodes a pretty long time ago. I don't remember what season it was. We were going to Red Crow to find files. So I did sort of like a short walkthrough tour, but there wasn't really a lot of information in there. So I thought, what's a better, soft intro into my vlogs than to talk about Red Crow and kind of how it functioned to you guys. So then it gives you some more information on that. So I got to Red Crow when I was 13. That was when I was put in, and that was after Dr. Dillon had already been introduced to Red Crow. Because if we're going to talk about Red Crow, you need to understand one thing, and that's that Red Crow wasn't always what it was when I was there, or what it ended up being when I left. It's kind of before Dr. Dillon and after Dr. Dillon, so, our own BD and AD. I was only there after Dr. Dillon had already been there. Gloria got there before me, so I kind of know a little bit of how it functioned before Dr. Dillon was working there, because she was there for like a year and a half before I was. So originally Red Crow was supposed to be more of like a boarding school kind of deal. Obviously it was more secure than a boarding school. Well, I've never been to a boarding school, so I don't know how secure that is. It was an old abandoned hospital wing that they got, on sale, so they kind of renovated it, and they wanted to make almost a safe space for chosen girls. As you reach puberty, that's kind of where your powers really come into themselves. There are signs that you're going to be a chosen girl, that you have powers before that, but, puberty kickstarts everything. It was supposed to be for chosen girls to go there and learn about their destinies, who they are, how to control their powers, all while at the same time going to middle school and high school and getting a diploma and an education so they can continue to live their lives in the real world. So it's kind of a positive thing for us and the community. I mean, there are people who are alumni of the original Red Crow who are perfectly fine, and they probably look back on it as, a good experience in their life. You would get whatever meds you were on in the morning, go to breakfast, go to school, and then have free time and, lessons on how to control your powers, counseling sessions. I mean, it wasn't really closed off from the outside world as much as it was when I was there. It was more of just a school. And of course there were experiments back then as well, but they weren't, I wouldn't call them experiments. They were more studies. It was like blood tests and seeing how our blood reacts to certain things, performing studies on brain waves and just different things to try and understand how we sort of functioned and how our bodies were biologically different than a normal human's. Just trying to find differences and understand and ultimately like help us as well, because you know, like certain genders are predispositioned to get different diseases and stuff more than maybe somebody of an opposite gender. So kind of like they wanted to see if maybe we had any of that, where we would have any predisposition. I don't know if that's the right word, but if we were more likely to acquire a disease or something of that nature than maybe a normal human. So all of the studies, experiments back then would have been pretty harmless, maybe a little annoying because you get poked and prodded a bit, but that would have been about it. So after Dr. Dillon joined Red Crow, everything kind of just declined. It all just slowly went downhill. It was gradual though, it wasn't like all at once, although some things obviously did change all at once. He wanted to implement his own programs, which were not for our benefit in any way, shape, or form. He wanted to use us for his own personal gain. He thought that because we had a natural ability, a natural gift for evolution, that he could use that to learn how to evolve into a greater being himself. A lot of his experiments were based on fear. I know the program that I was recruited into, Program 13, that was a lot about fear. So he thought that he could use fear and channel it both in a mystical sense and a biological sense to try and use it to evolve, essentially. Because fear is a very powerful emotion. He thought he could use it sort of in like alchemy, to use alchemy and then use fear as the power source, I guess, for him to evolve into a greater being. So Program 13 was a lot of him pushing girls to the breaking point and trying to almost scare us to death so that he could try and harness our fear to use for whatever he wanted to use it for. But aside from that, because of the programs that he was implementing, he had to cut us off more from the outside world. Obviously, you don't want parents to know about any of that, and also if we have access to the outside world and access to things that allow us to sort of leave the hell that we're in currently, even for a short amount of time, then he gets less of a response out of his subjects because we're not scared. So there was a lot less visitation rights. You couldn't see your family as much. I know that there were reports of him having sent out emails to parents to say that, you know, them visiting was deterring their child's stable mental state, that, you know, like they had to acclimate to their environment, and that seeing people from their old life and such were going to mess with their heads. He restricted our time outside. He restricted use of the internet and stuff. We were only allowed to use a certain browser, so that we couldn't really access much unless it was approved by Red Crow administration, which would have just been him saying what we were allowed to view and what we were not allowed to view on the internet. All of our rec time was pretty much squashed down, and there was a lot of fear that started going around, especially towards the later years that Red Crow was open, because there were instances where girls that you knew would go missing for days on end, like 3 to 5 days, and they would either come back really fucked up or they wouldn't come back at all. Yeah, he wanted controlled environment or whatever. You can't have access to your friends during experiments where he wants to make you feel scared and alone. So you would just disappear for like a whole week. And then when whatever he wanted to do that was an experiment on you was over with, or when you died, then you got to go back into the rest of Red Crow and interact with your friends again, unless it was the second option and you died, in which case that sucked. Sorry for you. At least you're not in Red Crow anymore, I guess. So, in summation of what we've learned today, Red Crow was not that bad when it started. It was actually pretty beneficial for all of us, and it let us get a diploma while also learning how to control our powers and about what we were supposed to do in the world. And we have a choice whether we want to actually fight demons or not, but we got to learn what we were supposed to do with our powers. And then Dr. Dillon came into the picture, and he kind of ruined all of that and made crazy experiments for us that left us all psychologically damaged and got Red Crow shut down, which at that point was a blessing. Now you know. The more you know. Thanks for watching. See you the next time I want to do a vlog.